All right, so get this. A PSA Gem Mint card, a BGS Gem Mint card, an SGC Gem Mint card, and a CSG Gem Mint card all walk into a bar. The PSA card says, I'm more valuable than all y'all. The BGS card says, oh yeah, well, I used to be almost as valuable as you. The SGC says, yeah, so what? I've got a loyal following too, dude. Who cares? I'm 3/4 your value. And the CSG says, yeah, well, I'm doing better quality stuff than you. Someday, I say, someday people will be looking for quality over hype. And HGA stumbles past them all, shouting, what are you all forgetting about me? As he proceeds to puke all over the floor and pass out in the corner. This is the state of the modern card grading marketplace. In this video, we're going to consider why it is that PSA graded cards are considered the king of the hill when it comes to value on the open market. Does this mean that PSA is quote-unquote better at grading? No, only Carl thinks that. There is absolutely no objective evidence that supports a claim that PSA is quote-unquote better, Carl. In fact, depending on how we're defining better, then there are different things to consider here, and in almost none of the categories would PSA be on top. The one category that they are on top on is resale value. So why do they sell for more then? I would suggest the biggest reason PSA cards sell for more than cards from other grading companies is because they do. That's it. I mean, that's kind of a cop-out here, but essentially at some point along the way, they became the go-to grader in the industry, and once that happened, it caused the narrative to support them, which in turn caused them to have more demand, which in turn caused their values to increase over others. That's it. The market made the decision, and here we are now. This happens in open markets not too infrequently. Just because, for example, tech startup A has stocks that are worth more than tech startup B doesn't actually mean tech startup A's gadgets are better than tech startup B. It just means that something somewhere along the way caused people to lean towards A, and once that reached a tipping point of people, then more people did. Not because tech startup A was better, but because more people were going that direction. In actuality, it's entirely possible that what tech startup B was offering was objectively better. Completely possible. But once people start going towards A, everyone else follows suit. This kind of scenario has happened again and again throughout history. It's the psychology of mob mentality, and often a result of FOMO. Sometimes it's sparked by marketing, sometimes it's sparked by celebrity support, sometimes it's sparked by pure luck, but whatever causes it, it can often create a scenario just like the heavy preference for PSA that the sports card hobby in general has. But really, is that all? No, that's not all. One thing I have heard from a number of collectors who prefer PSA is that there's also appreciation for PSA's set registry system. Essentially, PSA's set registry system creates a space where people can keep their graded card sets organized, where they can work towards creating complete sets, and where unique complete sets can be highlighted for others to gaze on in awe. PSA is positioned to be able to do something like that better than other grading companies simply because they're the industry leader and the number of PSA graded slabs is higher than the other grading companies. If BGS or SGC or CSG had the population numbers of PSA, then perhaps they would be able to do just as well, but PSA is the big dog, which enables them to create a system like this better than all the others. Okay, so is there anything else that makes PSA cards sell for more on the open market? Honestly, I would say the other thing that makes PSA sell for higher on the open market, I would actually consider to be things that are weaknesses of PSA, but somehow they seem to help them come out on top. For example, PSA does not give out 9.5s, only 9s and 10s, and they do not offer subgrades like some of the other companies do. Now at first, to many, these could both seem like weaknesses, but in actual practice, I think they actually both help PSA's resale values. BGS and SGC both give a Gem Mint card a score of 9.5, and just from a purely psychological perspective, I think people prefer a 10 over a 9.5. A PSA 10, a BGS 9.5, and an SGC 9.5 are supposed to all be the same in quality, but one is called a 10, which seems better to the mind. I think this is one thing that helps PSA. CSG has recently changed their grading scale to make it so their 10 is what their 9.5 used to be, and I do think that will help them. But they're also the smallest of the big four currently, although they are my personal favorite, I should just say. So if that does help them, for the moment I think it's pretty small ways. Maybe it will be more significant for them sometime in the future, this grading scale thing, but I don't even know. Another narrative that exists out there, one that I don't think can be proven right or wrong in any real objective way, is that PSA grades easier. Now, from one perspective, that could be considered a weakness. I mean, a good grading company should be the one that does a really good job grading, right? But that is not what people in the hobby currently consider a good grading company to be. The accuracy of the grade is less important to many people in the hobby than is the potential for larger profit. The people choosing which company to send their cards in for grading very often don't want to send them to a company where the grading is more rigorous and the final grade is a better reflection of that card's real quality. No, they just want the highest possible score so they can sell it for more. That's what attracts most people to choose one company over the other. So the fact that there's a common narrative that says that PSA is an easier grade ends up actually helping them to get more business. For other grading companies, they can't approach it that way. CSG, for example, if they're going to rise in the grading space, they have to show their own uniqueness and specialities in other ways. But as for PSA, who already sits atop the heap, they just have to convince people to keep seeing them as the best way that someone can actually make a profit with their cards. And easier grading standards can actually help them with this. There's not a lot of markets in the world where a perceived lower quality or less rigorous service is actually what the people paying for the service would often prefer, at least for those whose profit is the main motivation. It's a little bit crazy really when you think about it. I mean, maybe there's a few places like an unscrupulous character like Carl selling a house might prefer a lazy house inspector over a really detail-oriented and very competent one, but the buyer isn't going to want that. So buyers are going to do what they can to make sure they're seeing the full picture. But in sports cards, PSA has managed to position itself very uniquely, where sellers hope for them to be easy inspectors and where buyers also usually trust in them. How exactly they've managed a balancing act like that is pretty amazing to me.